every day, over 90,000 people become obese. 90,000 every day. Every 7 to 9 seconds, someone is dying from a health-related event due to their obesity. Whether it's type 2 or stroke or heart attack because of their weight.
It's like the creator of the universe is sitting there saying, if you'll fix this simple thing called your weight, I'm going to open up the floodgates for you. I just believe it. Don't wait on Robert Kennedy. Do something about it now.
Welcome to the Thought Leader Revolution with Nikki Ballou. Join the revolution. There's never been a better time in history to speak your truth, find your freedom, and make your fortune. Each week, we interview the world's top thought leaders and learn the secrets of how they built a 6 to 7 figure practice. This episode has been brought to you by eCircleacademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. I'm your host, Nikki Ballou. And boy, do we have a pair of exciting guests for you today. Today's guests are two of the leading global thought leaders in the arena of helping people get back their health. I am speaking, of course, of none other than the two, the only, Alan and Angie. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thanks, Nikki.
So
That's great. I feel like we need to do a
Rocky dance
UFC fight. I love that. That's it.
We are in the court now.
I love it. That's great. Thank you. So, guys, tell us your backstory.
So I'll give you the short version. On March 2nd, 2017, the day after our 31st wedding anniversary, I walked into the bathroom and did something I didn't do very often in those days. I stepped on a scale. And when I looked down at the scale, I saw something that I never in my life thought I would ever see. And it was a number that began with it was a large number, and it began with the number 3. It was 304 pounds. And if it said 299.999, it would not have impacted me. But I was 55 years old at the time, and I'd been in the senior market insurance sales for about a decade and a half, and had trained agents and sat in probably, 5,000-10,000 homes. And, literally people 65 years and older. And the fact I was 55, standing there, I remember this revelation. I realized I had never met a man in all of my ventures with over 65-year-olds that was 65 years old and more than 100 pounds overweight. Now, they're out there. We call them unicorns. Men, women tend to live longer, but with a lot of health issues with the overweight. And I was shocked. And then so things started running through my mind. Just, it was like a download from God. I mean, it was just weird. It started running through my mind. My first thought was Angie was going to call me her first husband. I would be the picture on the wall, the fat guy on the wall, and people would walk into our house and they would say, "Who's that guy on the wall that I see you with?" "Oh, that was my first husband. He died of whatever the ailment was." Now, I had no medical conditions, obesity, other than my morbid obesity, no serious medical conditions at the time. But I knew she would be married to some other guy. Obviously, I married up, and she, clearly she hopefully she wasn't shopping at the time.
Still not. Let me just put that in there.
But I knew that somebody else. Our 4 children. Our youngest at the time was 15 years old, and our 4 children would be calling somebody else dad. All these different things that I was supposed to do too. All the hopes and dreams that I had for later in life were going to be evaporated because I couldn't put down the stinking fork. And so I made a decision on that. It was really funny. I mean, Nikki, when you're, if you drive by a building that's collapsing or some awful thing or a tree fall, what do people do nowadays? They pull out their cell phones and they take a picture after they've called 911, hopefully, and after they've made sure that everybody's safe inside. We snap that picture. So I had my cell phone near and I snapped the picture of that 304 just without thinking. I mean, it wasn't something I typically did at the time. And it was because it was just a line in the sand moment. I said, there's no way that I'm going to be here if I don't make changes. And Nikki, I'd been on 35 years of obesity. I had been on more diets than Carter's got pills, if you're old enough to remember that phrase.
For sure, for sure.
I knew what to do, and that's what we find with our clients. I mean, that's one of the things we do. We don't tell people what to eat or what exercise to do intentionally. We give them strategies, but we purposely don't give them a way out. And so it is interesting is I went public with it a couple weeks later and said, I'm going to get over 100 pounds off, and I'm going to do it by November, and you guys can watch me. And I put myself literally in my own prison where I couldn't escape from for the first time in my life. And it led to, I reached my ideal weight 2 days faster than I predicted. I was able to calculate it. It's just not that complicated. We make it like it's an emotional issue much more than a strategic issue. And Angie can tell you her piece of it, because she had not struggled with obesity to the level I had. She was carrying baby weight, but our baby was 15 years old, and so it didn't bother me, but obviously it bothered her. So you tell your piece of it.
Well, let's just be honest. When you were deliberate and you revealed to the entire world, our world at the time, on Facebook, that you were going to release 129 pounds by November, I knew that I had to step up, because obviously other people were starting, other men were joining, and some had friends. I was going to be the first. I'm very competitive. I was going to be the first woman, no matter what. We do everything together. But I was so mortified when I actually realized what he had done on Facebook, because we always talk about things, as you said, right at that time, we'd been married 31 years, and typically big decisions had always been spoke about. And I would consider that probably one of the very biggest ones.
When I posted my scale, I literally just pushed post. And she said, "What?" And she came in. She was standing about 3 feet from where I'm sitting right now. I mean, and she said, "What the hell have you done?" Yeah. And so she was freaking out. I said, "You're angry today, but you're going to be thrilled in about 8 months." But
truly, what it was is I knew that I too would be bearing my soul and my scales for everyone to see, and I was really most concerned about our kids. Their friends, their parents, and so forth, people that we knew in our where we moved from. All those things went through my mind. Oh my gosh, this mom or whatever is going to see my scale, or Alan's, and will our children have backlash from it? I guess, but everybody was supportive. And
well, it's this ridiculous thing too, Nikki. We walk around in our culture, in this woke society we live in, where everything is okay, and you have social media influencers that are 200 pounds overweight and body positivity. I mean, but most of the people believe that nobody knows their weight. That they can see it, and if you're over 100 pounds overweight and you're not 7 feet 5 or something, and I'm 5'11", then you can't hide it. And so I just stated the obvious, and it became something that just kind of, it's like I jumped and I got power from it. And it was never meant to be a business. That's for doggone sure.
And so I released 63 pounds in 190 days.
Yeah, she
get to my goal weight, which was,
so between the two of you, like a whole person disappeared.
Oh, yes.
The joke was in the insurance organization was that I lost a Backstreet Boy. So
yeah,
that was, but yeah, and then it just evolved. I mean, when you've gone through a transformation, you did a bodybuilding thing, which is amazing. So what people immediately come to you? What did you do? What did you do? And what they're really asking, I mean, this I realized. They're really asking on a weight loss challenge, situation like I was in, what can I do to eat as much as I want, whenever I want, in whatever I want. That's really what they're looking for. And they're probably asking you these questions about bodybuilding, and they're saying, man, how can I look like you without ever going to the gym, without working out and doing all this sacrifice? Because people don't want to do it. They want the easy way, and there is no easy way. I mean, it's the easy way. The magic pill is, it's so funny. We talk about it. It's like the Israelites going to the promised land from Egypt in Exodus. They spent 40 years on an 11-day walk because they looked for a shortcut. That was really what they were doing. They were looking for the golden calf was a shortcut. And so I spent 35 years in obesity because I was searching for shortcuts. The shortcut was the direct approach. Just do it. I mean, it really is. And I know people hearing this who struggle with it and say, "Oh, come on, it's more complicated than that." Well, it is on the thinking side. It's not on the nutrition. It's so funny. And I don't classify. We're not doctors. We're not dietitians. We're not physical fitness experts. We're regular humans, but after sitting between the elbows of a guy that weighed 300 pounds and weighed in the 280s and 290s for many years, okay, that's morbid obesity, no way around it. All of the every day, I just sent an email to somebody that was, reaching out to me. It's like every day, it's your first thought. Every day when you walk into a meeting, it's your first thought. And it's this baggage that hangs on you, and it stops you from achieving it at a level that you could potentially achieve. The health is super important. I'm not discounting that. But any person in their right mind that lives in a first world country knows that obesity is a major health concern. And that's not enough. But when they realize all the consequences of it on the other things, the relationships, the business things, all the different issues in life that we want to succeed in, it's overwhelming. And we build these coping mechanisms. And I built my share. I mean, I built a bunch. So
and as you mentioned, it's so many. Well, obesity, overweight, whether you're 50 pounds or 200 pounds or more over your ideal weight, it affects everything. And I cannot tell you the number of women and men that I've spoke to that are married, that are not in a marriage relationship with their spouse. Many are living in a different bedroom. It's like they're roommates just sharing expenses. And that's not what we're called to have life to the fullest. And we have to take accountability and responsibility for ourselves. And it affects everything, Nikki, everything.
Hey, you guys, it sounds like you're giving people their lives back. You're helping them. You're saving marriages. You're saving families. You're giving someone their self-respect and their dignity back, honestly, because when someone is overweight, that's what they lose first. And that's what I lost. I mean, I was close to 60 pounds overweight. And for me, it was terrible. I wouldn't go telling anybody this, but I used to be a top fitness trainer. I used to be, somebody with abs and striations and veins and all that jazz. And it all disappeared. I became a fat guy. I hated it. But I didn't tell anybody. But I was disgusted with myself. And I reached that point of disgust, and that's when I decided to do something about it. I hired a coach, and the rest is history. But you guys were able to do this at a time in your lives where a lot of people are giving up. People who are over the age of 60 are not usually thinking, let me get into shape. They're thinking, let me safely go to my grave without making too many waves, right? So I want to understand what gave you the fire to take this journey and see it through.
Well, it's interesting because we have a real counterintuitive process. We're what's a friend of mine called a friend of Angie's of mine called we're diet agnostic, and so it's sure there are better things than others, and so But when people come to us, used to come to us about what did you do? It's just so funny. This one lady in particular was asking Angie and I, what did you do? And she became a microbiologist when we told her the nutrition that we were following. It was completely safe. It was not crazy. It wasn't radical. It was, my doctor loved what we were doing. And at the end of the day, it was so funny. I asked this lady when she was a cosmetologist, and after asking me what we ate, and she started telling, I couldn't eat it for this reason, this reason, this reason. Literally, she immediately became a microbiologist with no training. And so my immediate question to her, for some reason, I just popped in my head, I said, what'd you have for lunch? Now, she's 150 pounds overweight, okay? This woman's a morbidly obese, asking us for help. And this is before we were coaches. And she said, well, I went to Taco Bell. I said, awesome. Taco Bell tastes good. I said, what'd you have? She had chimichanga and the extra cheese stuff and the nachos and all the garbage. And I said, and my next logical question for her was, what did you have for dessert? And she had Kit Kats. And I said, I love Kit Kats. Those are awesome. They taste good. Have a nice life. I wish you well. And I got off the phone with Angie and I said, I will never tell anybody what to eat as long as I live, because it's crazy. They already know. And so not long after me saying that, a mentor of mine who actually listened to me and dropped 17 pounds in about 5 weeks. And I did it just to help him. It was Dan Miller, who passed from pancreatic cancer earlier this year. And he said, why don't you coach this stuff? And I said, I don't want to tell people what to eat. I said, it's stupid. Fat people know what to do. I knew what to do. It's the doing. It's the hard part. And he said, whatever. And about a month and a half later, Angie and I were being interviewed on a podcast, and it was not about weight, but our story came up, and this guy, who was listening to it, actually listened to it live. He messaged me during it. He said, can I talk to you? He sent a Facebook message. He said, can I talk? Now, I didn't know this individual. And he got on the phone with me, and he was pushing 400 pounds. And what I heard, Nikki, I heard myself. This guy was 40-something years old. Now, I'd run a mile before in my life because I was thin in my young years, but God never run a mile in his life. He'd all these different things. And so he literally, he kind of begged me to coach him. And I said, I'll give you 3 sessions. I gave him a price that was a joke price. It was just funny now to think back. And I said, but I'm never going to tell you to eat. I'm never going to tell you what exercise to do, because that's not what's causing your obesity. I said, do you have to change what you eat? Of course you do, but you've got to get radically responsible about this whole process. And it changed his life. I mean, it just changed his life. And I said, and it was and the charge that I got out of serving him and helping him get out of his own way and stop letting weight hold him back and do something about it just led me down this path. And it started with just men, and started with a handful of guys, and they all got results. The ones who did what I asked got results, immediately, and then became a business. It became what we call Rethink Dieting. And then, a lot of ladies were asking Angie, so we started, and Angie went on her journey, so we came on it together. But it's the men and women. Here's the thing, Nikki. There's so many people that are obese or morbidly obese, and they don't believe they can do it. And it's like one of our clients, Rick, who, when he came to us 3 years ago, he's a unicorn. He's one of those unicorns. He was 388 pounds, 5'10", 70 years old. And he, and I told him, I said, I'm positive I can get the weight off if you do the work. It's going to be harder for you than it is for other people, but I'm positive it'll work. And he said, and he enrolled in our process, and it was just funny. He later told me, he said, I thought you were a lunatic, but for some reason I believed you, because he'd spent 52 years in obesity. And the other day, it was about a month ago now, he actually crossed over from obesity to overweight, which is a huge thing. He weighed in at 206, but more importantly, and this took him 3 years.
388 to 206.
Yeah, and he's still going. I mean, he's going to 188. That's his ideal weight. He wouldn't be alive today. I know it, if he hadn't taken that action. And it's been a beautiful thing to watch how that's morphed into it. But when you get that charge of knowing that you serve somebody, because we are talking about life and death here. I mean, we are, and we know it now. And it's not only life and death physically, but it's the life and death of your hopes and dreams. And that's what fired us up. And trust me, Nikki, if I could quit, I would.
And the numbers are staggering, Nikki. Every day, over 90,000 people become obese. 90,000 every day. And I'm sure you know statistics and whatnot, but every 7 to 9 seconds, someone is dying from a health-related event due to their obesity, whether it's type 2 or stroke or heart attack or whatever it is, sleep apnea. It's all because of their weight. 7 to 9 seconds. I mean, we've lost a few just since I've been saying that. Said that.
I was listening to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking about the obesity epidemic and the chronic disease epidemic in America, and how in the 40s, there was no chronic disease. There was no obesity problem. And today, it's a majority of Americans are obese. A majority of Americans. That is nuts. And
children as well.
Children,
it's
yeah,
140 million children.
And so I'm very excited that he will be serving as President Trump's advisor on bringing this to the nation at large. And his mission, his mandate is to get rid of the chronic disease epidemic and to get rid of the obesity epidemic. I think that's fantastic. I think it has to happen, not just in America, but all over the Western world.
Sure.
People are overfed and undernourished these days. And I've been doing a lot of reading in this arena. I just read Dr. Casey Means's book, Good Energy. I'm reading Max Lugavere's book, Genius Foods. And it's mind-blowing how widespread the problem is. And to see thought leaders like yourselves who have struggled with this issue and have come out on the other side in a very elegant way, be able to show people that it's the very struggles that you both have had with this issue that qualifies you to teach people how to overcome it. And that's the essence of thought leadership. That's what we teach inside the thought leader work that we do. And Mark von Musser is graciously assisting us with that. But you are the epitome of that. And I'm wondering if you could share your comments or thoughts on Robert F. Kennedy Jr., what he's standing for, his message for the nation as a whole, and how this can apply inside your world and the people that you help.
Saying he's spot on. I mean, our food has been taken over and created, like you said, where you eat so much. I mean, the food industry is working against us. We're looking for quick fixes from the drug industry, which is killing people. Ozempic and that class of pharmaceuticals, that people get on. They lose so much muscle, and they don't. And you don't have to do crazy to lose weight, Nikki. I mean, that's what's so wild. So I believe it. Yeah, because here's the thing: if you had to conquer a land. If you had to conquer a land, what more ingenious way to do it than to make people, to add an extra 50, 100, 200 pounds to people and literally take them out, not just physically, but emotionally. And our country is being held hostage by the food industry. It really is. But even with all of that, it's like our clients, we get in this mode as individuals of where we believe we can't do it, and we have these. It's a recent client that's just started working with us about 5 weeks ago. This lady, she's really neat, and she's an honest human. She's not, but she lied to herself so much. It was like she came to us at 202. 202. She'd have all these different weight loss things, crazy stuff she'd done. Nothing worked. And she says, all I eat is eggs and egg and salad. And I'm like, okay. And before 5 minutes into the conversation, we brought out the ice cream and cookies, which, I mean, I get ice cream and cookies taste good. And so I said, what if you didn't eat that for a little while? Could you live? And so she said, I didn't even realize I did it. And it's just interesting. So 5 days after that conversation, so I always get stuck at 197. I said, how long does it take you to quit at 197? She said, and go back to the ice cream and cookies. She says, a day. And I said, would you give me 30? And I gave her a story of one of her clients who had 5 weeks of no weight loss and then dropped about 8 pounds in 10 days. And what it was an 8 pound weight loss over 5 weeks plus the 10 days, not the 10 days. And he didn't quit at, 3 feet from goal. Like, I know you're very familiar with that. And so, now she's down 20 pounds and she's like, I've got a conversation we had with her Wednesday. She said, what did she say? I asked her, where on the scale of 0 to 100, where were you on your confidence you could get to your ideal weight, which is 135 pounds? And she said, it was like 0. Yeah. I said, where is it now? She said,
it's 110.
It's like off the chart. She said, I'm positive I can do it for the first time ever. And we have even with all the deck stacked against us, and it is stacked against us. And, the tobacco industry took over the food industry. I mean, go figure. The people who got you hooked on nicotine now are going to get you hooked on the wrong food. I mean, which we shouldn't be surprised by it. The pharmaceutical industry, they're going to sell pharmaceuticals. It's a perpetuating model where they're going around and around. But even with all that, it's still possible. I mean, look at you. You knocked out 60 pounds. I mean, because you took the time to become an expert on yourself. You took the time to do those things that weren't, because was it easy?
No.
Heck no. I mean, but was it worth it? Yeah.
It was important. It was urgent and important, and you did it.
And that's what we see with people. So yeah, I mean, Robert Kennedy, absolutely. I mean, I'd love to see the emphasis on it. But when we depend on our government to fix things, it's kind of like Reagan said. He said the scariest sentence you can hear at the door is the knock on the door is that I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And so I say don't wait on Robert Kennedy. Do something about it now. Do something about it now, because
you have to take individual responsibility for your own life.
100%.
You're not going to wait on anybody. But
don't pay attention to the target models.
I'm grateful that President Trump is teaming up with Robert Kennedy, and I'm confident he's going to win on Tuesday. And I think he's going to have a really good team to help him set the country straight. The most important thing is to get Americans focused on optimizing their health. The most important thing.
Yeah.
Period, full stop, end the story. And if that gets done, I think America is going to be on a good track. And if it doesn't get done, then America will not be on a good track.
Nikki, it's like the creator of the universe is sitting there saying, if you'll fix this simple thing called your weight, I'm going to open up the floodgates for you. I just believe it. I mean, I really do believe that. And it's so interesting. And you probably read Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil.
Yep,
and in the 1930s, there was no obesity problem. Okay. And it's so interesting to me that and I really recommend that book to anybody that hasn't read it, but it wasn't published until 2011, but that food was in the top 3 of the things that would get control of our mind and make us useless. And it's just really, it's a self-control thing. I mean, people come in our program that aren't Christians all the time, but our belief around this is really that, the creator of the universe gave you the most valuable thing other than salvation that he gave us all are these earth suits. And he's just waiting. And we've seen so many examples of our clients when they escaped obesity, that other areas of their life opened up inexplicably. I mean, it's unexplainable. It's like I said earlier, the floodgates open up to you when you take care of that which you can take care of. If there's one area of your life that you can take care of, you can control your fork.
100%. 100%. No, beautifully said. Beautifully put. So, Alan and Angie, if someone is interested in having a conversation with you, what's the best way?
Best way is to go to transformmyfuture.com/apply and book a breakthrough call with us. And we'll get really clear on your problem with weight, what you're struggling with, how committed you are to solve it, and if we believe we can help you. And we've helped lots and lots of people with that in that situation. We also have if they'll go check out transformmyfuture.com/revolution. A la Nikki here, but just revolution, transformmyfuture.com/revolution. They can watch a video that'll give them a little bit more information on who we are, before they book that call. And it's our 5-step strategy Angie and I use to lose 192 pounds in 260 days. And so, yeah, they'll go check it out. And absolutely, we're never too busy for any of your listeners. This is what we do. It's what we're passionate about. We believe we're put here to change the trajectory of obesity. It's only going to take 100,000 people a day, and so
that's it. Transformmyfuture.com/apply. We'll make sure that gets put in the show notes. So we end off each episode by asking you, our guest experts, what are your top 3 expert action steps to help my listener take their life, their health to the next level? Bullet point form. First Alan, then Angie. Go.
First thing is get really clear on what you want. Get really clear on and for example, the way I phrase it to people is if the creator of the universe walked into the door with the version of yourself you were created to be, what does that version of yourself weigh? Most people are afraid to admit what that is. Okay. Second thing is if their entire family, all their loved ones were taken hostage, and the only way to get them back alive is to lose 1 pound of weight to reach that God-given weight, their ideal weight, every week. But they can't ask a doctor, nutritionist, dietitian, physical fitness expert. Nobody. They can't even Google what to eat or what exercise to do. But they have to save them. What would they change about their eating to do that? And by the way, I've never had anybody say they couldn't save their family when it was put in those terms. And then the third thing that I would say to people is to get really clear on the consequences, like I did when I was standing on that scale, what it's really going to cost you. And if you've got life insurance, God bless you. I was in the life insurance business for many, many years, but it's not going to replace you to your family. Wonder what the consequences are going to be to your family, what it's going to be, not just to you, but to everybody. If you don't fix this, how rough will it be on them if you don't fix this problem with weight? Because it is not something to be taken lightly. And I didn't mean to make a pun, but it is not something to take lightly.
And I know we're probably going to overlap. I was writing because I knew I didn't want to say what you said, but we have no guarantees for tomorrow. Don't put it off. If you're struggling, if you're 40 pounds, 80, whatever it is, there's no guarantees that tomorrow, you'll get another chance. Mm-hmm. I just have a feeling that if you start, you're probably going to have more chances that you're going to be able. I don't think God's going to call us out if he really sees that we're changed and we're really going to make a commitment. I mean, of course, only he knows when our last day is. But don't settle for a second. Don't settle for a weight. Sometimes we'll be speaking to someone and they'll say, oh, I just want to, I'm 5 foot. I just want to, they're 250. Oh, I just want to be 175. And again, a 5 foot lady. No, they really want to be less. They're afraid to speak what really their heart is saying because they failed so many times, Nikki. Mm-hmm. And we get real clear. No. And I think Alan might have said, if the creator walked in, what would you weigh? And that's the way we want you to claim the weight you really want. And again, these are probably overlapping, but who else is your obesity impacting? It could be impacting, like I said earlier, spouses who aren't sharing a bedroom and the marital relationship that we're created to have. Mm-hmm. It could be, I've even had a grandmother who was raising a younger child who said that there's about an 8-year-old. I remember this so vividly. her grandchild is scared for her health because this woman is morbidly obese and can barely get around, but the grandmother has to raise her. And so who's going to take care of that child if something happens to the grandmother? The mother's not able and no father. I mean, I remember that. And I have heard that, Nikki, more than once. A lot of families are, there's, a lot of that happening. So don't put it off. Do it now. The short time that it takes to release, even if it's 100 pounds or 200 pounds, like some of our clients, you're still going to, the clock is still going to tick. You just may gain another 30 or 50 instead of being on your way to releasing the weight. You have more of a chance of gaining than losing if you don't really take action and take it seriously and know what you're playing for yourself, but who else that you love and that loves you. So.
And today we actually are in the beginning day of what we call eating season opens. This is when we're actually recording this, October 31st with Halloween, and we have so many people that gain 5, 10, 20 pounds. I mean, we say it lightly, but it's eating season. You can go into next year lighter than you are now. It is possible. We have people do it all the time.
We sure do.
So,
Alan, Angie, thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing your story with us. Listener, Alan and Angie Thomas are the real deal. Check out their website. If you or someone you love is dealing with this issue, especially if they're older and they've maybe bought the lie that it's too late, it's never too late, get onto their calendars. You'll be glad that you did.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Nikki.
And that wraps up another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. To find out more about today's amazing guests, the two and only Angie and Alan Thomas, go to the show notes at thethoughtleaderrevolution.com or wherever you happen to listen to this episode, be it iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, Rumble, Audible, or what have you. Until next time, goodbye.
This episode has been brought to you by eCircleAcademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.